Fellow citizens and residents of Antigua and Barbuda, the 39th anniversary of our nation's independence has come as a dark cloud hangs over the world. A small microbe has brought all nations, rich and poor, large and small, to their knees. We in Antigua and Barbuda, a place from which no major disease has ever erupted, have become one of its victims in ways that none could have imagined. Our nation is at war with an invisible enemy. Our economy is badly weakened through no fault of our own. But our nation did not survive hundreds of years of slavery and another 150 years of colonial exploitation to surrender all that we've achieved. We did not rise from our knees to stand as equals in the councils of the world to turn back the hands of time. We did not make of ourselves a nation with one of the highest per capita incomes globally to be cowered in the face of a pandemic, however menacing. Cowardice has never been the way of our people. We get up, we stand up, and we fight unrelentingly until we conquer the struggles and achieve our objectives. That is how we have overcome the challenges of the past, consistently creating a better life for our people. And that is the way we will continue. Cautious but courageous, careful but determined, vigilant but robust. We should recall that, as like all things, this too shall pass. Therefore, on this 39th anniversary of our independence, let us not crouch down in fear. Let us not shiver in dread. Instead, let us do what as a people we have always done. Let us look ahead with absolute certainty that darkness is dispelled by light. In so doing, let us celebrate our nationhood with hope and optimism, eschewing all fear. Let us set our feet firmly on a path to recovery, girding our loins with purpose to overcome, and setting our eyes on the single goal of snapping back and building back better. None can deny with any sense of fairness and objectivity that we have succeeded in containing the might of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have protected lives and livelihoods, saving hundreds of lives and putting thousands back to work by reopening our economy on June 1st of this year. We in Antigua and Barbuda are better off than most of the people in the world. Globally, there are almost 1.2 million deaths and increasing. In Antigua and Barbuda, we have contained our loss of life to only 3 persons. Across the world, there are about 45 million infected persons. In our country, we had a total of 124 persons, of whom the majority have all recovered, leaving us with only 8 active cases. By any measure, our performance has been outstanding and exemplary. While one death is one death too many, and we mourn each of them, as a nation, we have kept our people safe. My government acted immediately and comprehensively to contain the virus and to halt its spread. There was no dithering, no dallying, no indecision. We acted promptly, decisively, and in a big enough way to make a difference. Our decision to reopen our borders on June 1st, to receive passengers by air and sea, signified confidence in the ability of our people to manage the risk associated with COVID transmission, and was an inspiration to the entire Caribbean region. The lives and health of our people came first and remain first. We protected our nation against the worst cruelties to the health of our people. Without any help from the international financial institutions, we allocated scarce resources to build a fully equipped infectious disease center. We expanded the number of hospital beds to 3 beds per 1,000 of population And we invested heavily in equipment and other medical supplies to include rapid test kits. China, India, and the Jumbi Bay Fund were outstanding in the provision of medical supplies, and we will always remember their friendship. Even as we celebrate our independence, it is good to know that in times of crisis, we have committed friends. Cuba is among them. Cuba would have made available medical personnel to join our own doctors and nurses and others on the front lines of confronting the virus. Our nation is indebted to all our health workers and all the others on the front lines. They are warriors on the front line of the battle, and they deserve our praise and our thanks. When the economic circumstance of our country changes for the better, as I'm confident it will, my government will remember these champions and will do our best to reward and honor them for their special service. The global impact on tourism has affected our economy badly. Yet my government ensured that we would not suffer complete economic collapse or widespread misery. We kept all government workers employed, giving most families a breadwinner. We looked out for the poor and the vulnerable by making welfare interventions that included the provision of subsidized utilities, cash grants, food hampers, and other necessities. Our government continues to help through various initiatives supported by the corporate sector, civil society, and citizens. My dear brothers and sisters, we all know that the pandemic paralyzed the world. It forced mankind to abandon or significantly reduce the freedom of roaming, of socializing, and of physical communing. Across the globe, mankind has been forced to remain in their habitats, conducting business and maintaining contact through a virtual world. The latter is by itself a measure of mankind's great creativity and innovation. It is also a tribute to our country's vision and determination not to be left behind in the availability of telecommunication facilities. My government considers the provision of affordable broadband services as a public good. That is why Antigua Public Utilities Authority is investing over $100 million in expanding its broadband services at affordable prices. Those facilities have kept us as an active participant in the global financial and trading systems. Thus, we use information and communication technologies as effective tools for governance, diplomacy, education, business, office work, and social connections. We also use them to earn revenues through our Citizenship by Investment program and more recently, our Nomad Digital Residency program. Our investment in modern technology ensure that we have achieved the twin objectives of saving lives and maintaining key aspects of our national life and livelihood. Much of that capacity has been attained only since independence 39 years ago. That realization should instill in all of us not only recognition of what we have achieved as a nation, it should also assure us that we have the ability to carry on achieving and that we have the power to continue our journey to progress and prosperity, which have been interrupted by COVID-19 only temporarily. My brothers and sisters, as your Prime Minister and a fearless optimist, I remain confidently optimistic about the future of our country. I do not believe that there is any challenge that a vigilant, creative, innovative, and entrepreneurial people cannot overcome. Our history has proved that we are such a people. In that sense, we can cast aside every weight and run with confidence the race that is set before us. Who we must contemptuously ignore are the false prophets who pray fear for their own political advantage. They are creating fear, painting a picture of doom and gloom through false claims that the government's policies have brought our economy to its present pass. They are seeking to create a culture of fear so that they can fool you into believing that they represent your salvation and deliverance. The irony is, they themselves are mired in personal and professional failures and are in need of redemption. That is the irony. We must always remember that not all winged creatures are angels. False witnesses seeking personal gain did not start with Dathan and Abiram, who sought for wicked purposes to stop the people of Israel from following Moses into the promised land. Let us be mindful of the real purpose of these scaremongers who seek to undermine our nation's recovery and not to be derailed by the efforts. My fellow citizens and residents, as we know, COVID-19 has brought a tougher challenge for me and my colleagues than any previous administration since the 1930s. However, we will not shrink from it. We will press forward in optimistic solidarity. My government, together with all other sectors of our society, did a comprehensive assessment of the conditions we confront, the measures we can take to alleviate them, and the plans we should implement now and in the future to build back our country better. That is what the Economic Recovery Committee was all about. The blueprint with the policies, strategies, and programs is established, and the plan was devised by individuals spanning all sectors. We know that what we must do to continue to keep our economy viable and our people secure while we look forward to the passage of this terrible scourge. Brothers and sisters, when this pandemic first reached our shores, each of you was magnificent in your response and compliant with the protocols. Unfortunately, there is growing complacency and indiscipline that are now threatening to undermine the gains we have made and potentially expose our people to community transmission. Our entire nation could be endangered if any of you behave recklessly and ignore the health protocols which were designed to protect the entire population. The protocols must be strictly followed by all in protection of our citizens, residents, and visitors. We cannot afford complacency and delinquency. Our chain of success is only as strong as its weakest link. We need everyone to be responsible. We must all be our brother's keeper and our sister's protector. Look at what is happening throughout Europe. The numbers of infected persons have risen dramatically because people ignore the protocols. They began to treat the virus lightly. Now the lockdowns have returned, the restrictions have resumed, the economies have begun to slide. We must learn from the sad experience of Europe of what is happening in the United States and even in Canada. Our country cannot afford another lockdown. And that is why I now appeal to each of you and all of you not to make the same mistake. The price we would pay for the errors and recklessness of a few would be extremely high. And that is not what we want. So I appeal once again to all who dwell within our shores to recognize that we are all together in one boat in this turbulent sea. We can sink in it or sail out of it to safe harbor. I know that if we pull together, we can ride out this turbulence and dock our boat on the safe and protective shores. This is what we must do, and do it together as patriots in the interests of all whom we love and for our country. Brothers and sisters, it is confidence, not fear, that has always driven our nation. It is optimism, not despair, that has propelled us forward. The task before us is not easy, but our early actions would have prevented us from being worse off. And if we continue to bind together in solidarity, as one nation, one people, with a common purpose and vision, we will emerge stronger when this crisis is over. I recall Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 to 18. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. My dear sisters and brothers, this 39th anniversary of our nation's independence reminds us that as a people, we rose up from poverty and exploitation and from austerity and deprivation. We stood up as a free nation, convinced that tomorrow is ours to win, and despite all odds, we did. We have it within us to do it again, and we shall do it again. Our 40th anniversary of independence, 1 year from now, will be more prosperous, healthier, better, and brighter. We must get there together. So let us rejoice in this 39th anniversary, looking forward to the 40th, with all the resolve and resilience that has made us the proud and strong nation that we are. May God bless you, and may God bless our fair and beloved Antigua and Barbuda. I thank you.